Flipping it over to the afternoon. Get up and get going. If you're asleep at 11:57, you are obviously having a nice, lazy either vacation afternoon or you're just flat being lazy. So let's move on to the afternoon where Tyler Head is. Well, let's get a report. Tyler, last night, Jay, Terry, Elijah, the Wolfpack known as the 107.5 game group. How'd it go?
So I ducked out at about 5 o'clock yesterday. So I stayed long enough to finish cutting up some press conferences. I still had about an hour-long drive to get back to my parents' house. So I decided staying longer probably wasn't in my best interest.
Wise choice. Read the room, see the crowd, avoid the rush. And that was yes, good job.
I saw everybody coming in for the Beyonce concert as I was leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, probably a good time to get out of Atlanta.
Yes, the Beyonce concert. Was that last night? Either I'm happy I don't know this or
it's been a weekend wraparound. My wife went to the first show on Friday night, and I know they added a show. So I think they had 3 scheduled for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think last night was the fourth one they added because they were selling so many tickets.
If you don't know, if you're unaware, or you just don't care, we'll inform you. Atlanta is really the epicenter of all things happening in America this weekend. You've got, or right now this week, really, not even this weekend. Obviously, last night, if you paid attention to it, maybe we'll touch on it. The Major League Baseball home run derby contest. Did you get into that a little bit?
I did. I had it on, kind of on the side as I was doing some work, and I got a big dumper, man, Cal Raleigh, taking home the prize. As he did come up a little bit short of getting Barry Bonds' record for most home runs, or tying the record for most home runs for the All-Star break, because I think they're playing the Tigers over the weekend. They intentionally walked him the last time that he came up, where he could have potentially had the opportunity to do that. So unfortunately, didn't quite get to that mark, but neat to see him win the home run derby last night.
That was wild, and that was neat for him because he had his father pitching to him. He had his brother catching for him, and he's a guy, Tyler, that plays out there in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And the person I was watching it with, she knows sports. She's pretty in tune with everything. And she goes, "Where does he play?" I was like, "Yeah, Seattle." I was like, I try to stay up and catch these games.
It's really funny, between like a guy like him, a guy like Mike Trout, even Shohei Ohtani before he got to the Dodgers, where, they weren't playing. He wasn't playing on Sunday Night Baseball frequently. Like, we hear about these guys, but baseball being such a, centrally focused sport to whatever team that you follow is it's really hard to see everybody out there when it comes to, some of these stars that play for some of these teams that aren't as featured out there quite as much.
Well, I at least knew who Cal Raleigh was. Junior Caminero. I got to be honest. I looked at, he came to bat. I was like, I wonder where he plays. Turns out he plays in Tampa.
You just kind of nod and go, okay, yeah, sure. Let's see what he's got.
And then you had also a guy like O'Neal Cruz last night, who was very interesting and entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, oh, God, how many home runs did he hit in that one round?
18, 20.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. I enjoy the home run derby. Could they tweak the format a little bit? Sure. But it's fun. They've turned it into a spectacle. And I don't know. It's neat to watch and get you excited for the All-Star game tonight.
So you got the All-Star game. So Tyler's going to have to adjust to that tonight. We just mentioned Beyonce. And, of course, what is taking place where Tyler's at. You hear the clinking of lunch plates in the back, the clinking of glasses, everything going on. SEC Media Days. And before we go back to yesterday, let's get an update. How has it been this morning?
Pretty good. A little tamer today, I guess. Went down and listened to a little of what Kirby had to say down there. I saw Hugh Freeze walk by a little while ago. I imagine the circus will really start kicking up when Texas gets in here, and Arch Manning will have, probably the entire first floor of people trying to get down to talk to him. So that's when things I think will kick into another gear.
So we will discuss a lot of that. A lot to get to today. Coming up at about 12:40, Greg McElroy will join us, and we'll talk to him. And then coming up, Tyler, I believe around 2:30, 2:40, kind of tentative. Yep. This is the fun of it. You can send me a rundown. You can tell me, here's what time we got, and you just never know. But Tony Barnhart said to join us.
I don't think it'll be quite as fluid as yesterday, where we're just having players dropped in our lap. So I think today we'll kind of try and stick to the schedule as best we can.
We will monitor that. But right now, that's our guest for today, Tony Barnhart, coming up late in the 2 o'clock hour. Greg McElroy set to join us about 12:40 today. We'll spend a lot of time today because yesterday was fun. It was awesome. I heard you, Tyler, replaying the Lenora Sellers interview from yesterday. Again, a lot of great stuff. You can go to the 1075 The Game Twitter account and check it out there. But yesterday was wild and crazy, so we didn't really get to, I think, analyze and do a deep dive into some of the things that got said, Tyler, and we're going to try and do that today.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Beamer talked about a number of things, and obviously talking about what they're having to replace from a year ago, and the outlook on this team, and can they be that same type of competitive team that's thought of as one of the teams that has a shot at the college football playoff. We'll certainly have to see, and I'm interested to see later this week as well what the rest of the media thinks in terms of what this team can be, given all that you lost a year ago, and what you have coming back, guys like Sellers and Stewart and all that kind of stuff, and if you can replicate that same success.
I will also just revert back to baseball real quick. My son, Austin Tyler, has just texted me and said, in all caps, by the way, this is when your child is a little out of control at noon. All caps. You don't know O'Neal Cruz? No, I didn't actually. Did you know O'Neal Cruz, by the way, last night?
I had heard the name. Okay. I can't say I've watched too much Tampa Bay baseball this year, though.
No, I think he's with the Pirates. So no, the junior Camaneros with the Rays. O'Neal Cruz, and he's the one who had the 513 foot homer last night.
Well, so, even less Pirates baseball.
Understandable. That is. See, that's me not resting on my laurels. And leaning on when I have done stuff. And yesterday, let's get into a little bit of Shane Beamer talked about South Carolina resting on his laurels. Here's what he had to say yesterday regarding that.
That just because it happened last season doesn't mean it just automatically happens this year. I mentioned it upstairs with the electronic media, but there's plenty of examples of teams across the country every year in college football that they're getting pumped up all summer long, and then they go out week one and get smacked in the face and never recover. I mean, that happens every year, and it's because just because it happened last year doesn't mean it happens this year. And for our team, it's making sure our guys realize all the work that went into 2024. It's going to take all that and even more for us to go where we want to go in 25, building on the things that we did last season without a doubt, but then looking back at the things that we didn't do well and making sure that we improve those, because people want to talk about the close losses that we had last season, a 2-point loss to Alabama, a 3-point loss to LSU. I realize that, but nobody wants to talk about the 4-point win against Old Dominion. And then we had a 3-point win against Clemson and a 4-point win against Missouri. So understanding that in this league, like every Saturday is a battle, and it's a fine line between winning and losing, and understanding that we got to be doing every little detail, every little small thing, even though they're not small things, to get where we want to go next year or this year.
Tyler, this is interesting. Now, maybe you're not as familiar with the Gamecock mindset. I know in 3 years you've had to watch a lot. You've had to watch a lot.
I have. Yeah.
In 43 years, I've sensed a lot. There is a sense of people that I've talked to, Gamecock fans, who are like, man, every time we get built up, we fall flat on our face. And you can go back to 2 years ago. I don't know if they were built up to this manner, but after coming off the 8-5 season, the wins over Tennessee and Clemson, obviously the bowl loss, there was a build-up for 2023 in what South Carolina could be. Spencer Rattler's back, and a lot of people, maybe we overhyped it, and South Carolina goes 5-7. I sense that, and that's maybe where more of that pressure that we've talked about with Shane Beamer. You're being hyped up. You're going to be a top 15 team likely. You got a Heisman candidate. You got a Nagurski Award type candidate in Dylan Stewart. You can't rest on your laurels and say, hey, look at what we did in 2024.
Yeah, and I've said this plenty of times, but I'll repeat it again. I feel like the perception of this entire program has the opportunity to really swing a lot this upcoming year, because everybody, when it comes to South Carolina, is typically reactive, right? We look at where they finish typically in the media poll, and it usually reflects what they did the season before. And again, 2 years ago, when you have those big upsets against, or 3 years ago now, those big upsets against Tennessee and Clemson, that made people think, hey, this is a team that's heading in the right direction. You immediately follow that up by going 5-7 and missing a bowl game where everybody goes, oh, same old South Carolina again, no big deal there. And if you can back up a 9-3 campaign with something similar and also kind of be in that mix for the playoff once again, I think it really starts to alter people's perception of what this program and Shane Beamer as head coach are like. Because again, the 5-7 would still just be the anomaly out of 5 total years here with the program. I think people would say, okay, this is a team that we should look at as a consistent contender that had just kind of one bad season sandwiched there in the middle, but that's not who they are.
Yeah, and what you're saying again, this is where South Carolina fans listen. I was the 2011, 12, 20, the 10, 11, and 12 years phenomenal, and there was expectations and there was excitement. I don't know. I should say actually the 11, 12, and 13 season. The 2014. I don't know if people agree with me on this. The 2014 season seemed to be the most hyped season of all those years. It just it was crazy. And South Carolina goes out there in the opening game and just gets mollywopped by Kenny Trill Hill and Texas A&M. I mean, it's one of those games, Tyler, as a fan, I went through all 5 emotions of being a fan in one singular game. All 5.
Yeah.
Excitement, stunned, disappointment, crying, and then just having been able to processing everything, getting through acceptance.
So I was watching that game as just, a neutral college football fan because it was Thursday night, the opening game for the SEC network. And I was excited to see football come back. And I couldn't, because again, the perception of South Carolina at that time, coming off those multiple double-digit win seasons, was like, hey, this is a team that should be in the mix for the national championship. And to see them get mauled by a guy that had never started a game before, that's when, and you can back me, you can confirm or deny this, I think that's when the shift on perception of Spurrier started to change kind of right there. Like, okay, that wasn't great. And then the season was not great. And the next year was even worse. And then obviously he ends up ducking out before the year's even over. So that was kind of like where the first domino fell for what the next, year and a half was going to look like.
Yeah, it was. And for those that remember that game, it was like an earlier kick. You got to remember, there was a lot that happened.
It was like a 6 o'clock kick or something, wasn't it?
It was 6:30, I think. And I might have drank some red wine the night before, and that was probably the last night. So that'd be over a decade ago that I drank red wine.
Because I remember being excited because I was in community college at that point in time. Like, yeah, I get home from class and boom, turn on the TV and boom, I got football. And that game wasn't very competitive to watch. I'll say that much.
And remember this, that was the debut of the SEC network. That was the first game of this. That was the I think on Thursday night had been the Spurrier SEC documentary.
I remember being worried because I had DirecTV at the time, and they were one of the last ones to get the network on their sports system or whatever. And I was like, are we gonna have to cancel our TV so I can see the SEC network this upcoming fall? Thankfully, they figured it out. But yeah, what a time, 2014.
Yeah, no, that was, and I'll just also say this again. There was so much build up for that. South Carolina was a top 10 team. They were a double-digit favorite. Well, remember in about 2019, South Carolina was highly thought of. It come off one of their best years under Muschamp. Open up in Charlotte with North Carolina. Jake Bentley does not play his best.
Well,
J.C. Horn has a EA Sports type glitch and misses an interception, and South Carolina loses as a double digit with high expectations.
Sure. Well, and that was obviously a Muschamp coach team. We already had a perception of Muschamp back to his time at Florida, and that was kind of like, okay, yeah, things just kind of start to slide in the wrong direction after a couple years, and kind of back that up. What happened here at Carolina, like Beamer's never coached anywhere before as a head coach. Like all the perception of him as a head coach is here at South Carolina, which I think is why the season's so important in kind of reinforcing that, hey, this team is good. This team is consistent. They can be a contender.
We'll come back, talk a little bit about culture, something else Shane Beamer talked yesterday regarding. And again, coming up at about 12:40 this afternoon, Greg McElroy will join us. You're listening to Tyler Head live from Atlanta. Bill Gunner here in Columbia at the studios. Producer Ed Bird. It is the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. You've heard me talk about it. We were halfway through July, but it was about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, that Jacob helped me through the process of obtaining my mortgage loan. And it was an easy, simple process. He was able to get all the paperwork, get everything done in a smooth and timely manner. He was there to answer any questions that I had, and I thank him each and every day for the condo he put myself and my kids out on Lake Murray. And he'll do the same thing for you. I promise you. You just got to give him a phone call. 803-719-1005. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to build, if you're looking to refinance and save money, Jacob Crowder is the mortgage guru in this market, and there's a reason for it, and I will testify to that. So call him and speak with him and see what he can do for you. What options, what products, and what loans are available. 803-719-1005. You can also email him, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDR at firstpalmetto.com. Give Jacob Crowder a call today and tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
You want to make sure that you're bringing the right people into your program, and it's harder than ever to do that. The amount of time that we as coaches are all out on the road recruiting, it's limited, and particularly for a transfer portal guy goes in the portal, and we may recruit a guy in high school for 3 years, guy goes in the transfer portal, you got about 6 hours to get him scheduled and get him on an official visit because other people are. So doing as much research as you can on guys. And then probably in a lot of ways, and I'm talking portal specifically now, when a guy comes in on a visit, I've never coached in the NFL, but I think it's very much probably like a free agent visit in the NFL where you're trying to find out as much about this guy while he's on your campus. It's recruiting, don't get me wrong, but it's making sure that he's a fit for you and you're a fit for him without a doubt. There's no question about it. I think it goes back. Guys have to choose to come to South Carolina or whatever school for the right reasons. And there's a money aspect involved now that hasn't been there before. I get that. But if that is the only reason, they're probably going to be in the portal or looking to go in the portal every single year. And we've got a lot of guys at Carolina. Our retention rate is strong. I appreciate you saying that. And we've got a lot of guys that came to South Carolina for the right reasons, because of the culture, because of the people that we have here. But it's hard. We've not done great on some guys as well that we've brought in that didn't work out. But I think if you just rely on bringing the right people into your program, being willing to walk away from guys that don't fit. And I rely on our players a lot too, that we've had guys on our team that have come to me after we've brought somebody in on a visit and have said, coach, like he ain't going to fit what we're about. And we've walked away, from guys being willing to do that, because now more than ever in college football, I think culture is more important than it's ever been. And you screw that up, it can torpedo your entire system, or entire team pretty quickly.
Those are the words of Shane Beamer yesterday at the podium. And, Tyler, we kick off this show here in the first 22 minutes. I think the two things we've talked about, that we'll get to this culture thing here. It is what is and drives college football in the United States now, and especially with the elite programs. One, following on success and not resting on your laurels. And two, now being able to navigate the transfer portal to bring players in that, as he said, does not torpedo your system or your program.
Yeah, and again, culture can kind of be a buzzword, and we can put it on the SEC Media Days bingo card, because I'm sure every single coach is going to bring it up. But when you have good culture, it's very much a very real thing, and all indications for what Carolina's done in Beamer's time, the culture seems to be very good and something that these guys obviously buy into. And the welcome home thing, sure, that's something that every university likes to say to some degree about the the vibe that they give up to the players. But again, we go back to something like the retention rate, which is something else that he talked about yesterday, and being able to hang on to pretty much everybody this offseason. Yeah, you had guys go to the NFL, but your two big dogs in Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart were obviously swayed with opportunities to go elsewhere and make more money. We know for a fact in Sellers' case, certainly. And so I'm sure there were plenty of offers going Dylan Stewart's way too, that you still had these guys want to stay here, wanted to continue their careers at Carolina because they believed in what they were building. They believed their best opportunity to go and play at the next level was continuing to be developed by Beamer and this coaching staff.
And, and that's big. I mean, let's just look. Give me your opinion on Florida State going from 2023 and what all they did. And I'll circle it back. And this because your connections with Georgia. The way that thing ended for Florida State 2023, they don't get the playoff, your quarterback's injured, and pretty much the whole program looks around and says, yeah, we're out, coach. We're out. We're not playing this, Coach Norvell. And it's almost like it carried over to 2024, and they didn't hit on what they needed to hit on in the transfer portal. And there's a lot of things that went wrong and caused them to go 2-10.
Well, and I'll go back to something. I got the opportunity to go down and listen to a little bit of Kirby Smart's stuff earlier on this morning. He talked about you can't just be transactional in today's world of college football. And Florida State's one of those programs that's been very heavy in the transfer portal, certainly since Mike Norvell's been there. And, last year they obviously brought in DJ Lagway. This year they're bringing in Thomas Castellanos at quarterback. And, we'll see how that goes, obviously. But you had a lot of guys that didn't seem to be bought into what Florida State was, what the culture was, what Mike Norvell was selling. They were there likely to play and earn whatever NL opportunity they were promised, and then try and move on to the NFL. And you can see when you have a bunch of guys that were obviously disappointed by missing the playoff 2 seasons ago, that just kind of laid over and just didn't even want to try in that bowl game. Obviously, that unfortunately for them carried over to the next season, and we'll see if they can shake that off. Because if they don't, Mike Norvell might be looking for another job come next year.
No, definitely will be looking for another job, and it just goes to show you how quickly. Things can evolve and change, and that's a big one. And that's why, again, you look at what South Carolina brought in the transfer portal. Gabriel Brownlow Dindy expected to be a massive piece. For those asking, those wondering, because we just went 25 minutes and 30 seconds without speaking of it. Rasul Faison, no news. I know that makes Tyler
No.
happy. I have not brought that up so far. But, you bringing in these guys, and they have to fit. And they have to fit quickly. They have to
Sure.
fit quickly, and they have to be dedicated. And the one thing I'll say, we're going to hit a break. The one thing I'll say to that too, Tyler, and we can circle back to this later, is the fact that we're talking about momentum for South Carolina football. All right. You got to go from 9 wins to 10, or you got to stay at 9, or whatever you got to do.
Sure.
You can't drop to 2-10. If you at least go 6-6, at least the bottom didn't completely fall out.
Yeah, you gotta go to a bowl game. Like bare minimum, you can't go anything lower than that, because I think people would look at, as disappointing as 6-6 or 7-5 would be, saying, okay, well, yeah, you did lose a lot of talent and all that kind of stuff, to where you're at least kind of not quite treading water, because that would still be around 8-9 wins, but you don't completely fall off the cliff, because I think that's when people kind of throw up their hands and say, oh, here goes Carolina again, being Carolina once again. So yeah, at bare minimum, make a bowl game, but ideally be around at least 8 wins to I'd say satisfy most people in this fan base.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. Again, yesterday was wild, crazy. We didn't get Tyler's weekend observations, heads and tails. So we will do that when we return. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for 30 years, that's a long, long time, they have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And you know why? It's because of customer service. They do a phenomenal job. They're going to come and take care of your roof. They're going to do this with results that will fit the needs of your facility. They're going to do it in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation, but it's also how they treat the customer before and after the job. For example, before the job, well, they are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's right, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call them right now. It's 12:27 in the afternoon. Obviously, you'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee. But if you have a leak tonight, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, maybe 1, 2, 3 in the morning, Mid-State Roofing is still there for you. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll speak with an on-call technician. 803-356-1919. Give Mid-State Roofing a call today. If you got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 12:32 as we roll along. Greg McElroy said to join us here in just a few minutes, but yesterday, quite the busy day. And Tyler, we did not get to heads or tails. Your observations from a relatively quiet weekend.
Yeah, I think I'll focus in kind of centrally on SEC Media Day since we're here, and there's a couple things that do kind of stand out to me. No real bad things, but again, the heads are the good things, the tails are the bad things. Obviously, number one head, this venue is incredible. College Football Hall of Fame. If you've never been here before, never got to experience it, the exhibits and all that kind of stuff, it's literally a college football fan's dream. Got Heisman trophies, they got displays, they got the video game thing set up next to me over here. For each day, for each team that are speaking, they've got little things set up like they had a jersey and a helmet and all those kind of things set up out there. So yeah, ultimate experience for anybody that loves college football. And I can't forget about all the Dr. Pepper I can drink. I've only knocked down 2 so far, but I will be getting to more today as I lose my energy, as I will throughout the rest of the week. So I can't complain about that. Definitely 2 heads for this week.
Okay. All right. I believe towards the end we have as you have a Dr. Pepper ranking we're going to get to.
Yes.
Okay.
I will give you my updated Dr. Pepper rankings before we get out of here.
Okay.
As I'm trying to navigate my way through all of Mr. Pepper's various flavors.
All right. So that's the heads. There's the heads. How about the tails?
Tails, and really nothing insanely bad. And I kind of knew coming in traffic was going to be an issue because it's Atlanta. I will say, though, it's not been as bad as it has been in years past, and I've lived here my whole life. I've worked in Atlanta, navigated throughout the entire year, and I've seen some atrocious traffic. So all things considered, it's not been terrible. Did almost get hit yesterday coming in, so thankfully got away with that one. A little bit better this morning, and hopefully it's good on my drive home this afternoon. And then my other tail here, the barcode scanner to get into the parking deck is very complicated, and one that you have to hit at an angle just right, or else you're going to be sitting there with the little arm down. So that's been a fun challenge of getting that right in the 3 times I've done it so far.
Okay. All right. The 3 times. All right. No.
Yes.
Let's get somebody helping you on that. So, all right. There is your heads or tails for the week. And obviously, next week, after all the observations, all the people he's seen, everything that's gone on, we look forward to those because I feel like those you might have a little more anger in you on next Monday.
Yeah, we'll see. We're not quite halfway there yet for this week, so we'll see what happens.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll get ready for Greg McElroy. He's set to join us coming up at about 12:40. You're listening to Tyler Head live from Atlanta. Bill Gunner here in Columbia. Producer Ed Bird. It is the halftime show. 12:40 on your Tuesday afternoon. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head over in Atlanta as we get you rolling along here. And coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Greg McElroy from the SEC Network. As you think, how many questions do you think he has had to answer as it pertains to his little comment about Nick Saban?
Well, I was going to lead off with that, so he's going to have to answer at least one more.
Okay, well, I look forward to that a little bit. So we will kind of get into that. What else have you heard so far today?
Again, I got to pop down there and listen to a little bit of Kirby's stuff, kind of talking about, Georgia and everything like that. One thing that he actually said that really jumped out and surprised me, and I guess I didn't really think about this when looking through their roster recently, he said 54% of their roster is comprised of first or second year guys. And Georgia, obviously a team that we think about having some of the, if not the best depth in college football. This year doesn't look like that's quite going to be the case. Obviously, Gunnar Stockton's been around there forever, but has only started, one full game in his time there, and we still don't fully know everything about him. So Georgia might be one of those teams that could be in a position to maybe not be as strong as they typically are this upcoming season, as looks like Greg will be heading down our way here in just a second.
Okay, yeah, I want to come back to that then, because I think, and we've got time this week, Arch Manning set to speak later on this week with Texas.
That's going to be a circus when he walks in.
Yeah, and we'll get, I think you got a little bit of that, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt yesterday speaking, and we'll hit that a little bit. But I say that because of the new faces. Now, Lenore, when you almost look at Lenore Sellers and say that he is part of the old guard of quarterbacks here in the league, it makes you realize just how much of a change we have in the quarterback. You almost look at it and say, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway, these are the old heads of the SEC at quarterback because of what they've done. And when you look around, you see everybody else trying to find somebody new. Again, maybe you throw Jackson Arnold in that group just from the standpoint of he started a bunch of games at Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're getting Greg mic'd up here to hop in here with us, we'll talk more about those quarterbacks coming up here in just a minute. But he is Greg McElroy from the SEC Network, ESPN, Jocks FM, a former national championship winning quarterback with Alabama. Did I miss anything? Is there anything left on your list of accolades I need to include there?
I didn't hear it all, but I appreciate the warm introduction for sure. Thank you guys for having me. It's great to be on at Columbia.
Absolutely. I'm Tyler Head. My co-host Bill Gunter back in the Columbia studios there. We got to start off. You have generated the most controversy, I guess, of Media Des so far with the comment about Saban. I did air your clarification from later on yesterday where you said, hey, people kind of blowing this out of proportion. The past day, what's been like with people asking you about
this?
It's
so funny. I all my buddies, where's he going? I'm like, I never said he was going anywhere. I just said if the right situation came up, someone told me that he'd listen. That was it. I was asking Paul really more than anything else. I would just wanted to hear from Paul's standpoint, who's super connected. Of course, Feinbaum is, nobody knows more than him. So that's kind of where it started. I was like, hey, Paul, I had somebody tell me that I wouldn't even bring it up if it wasn't someone that's been real reliable in the past. But they seem to think like Coach would be open to returning if the right situation presented itself. So I asked Paul that, and sure enough, the headline is, reliable source tells Greg McElroy that Nick Saban would be open to returning. Like, I don't think he's coming back. I'd be shocked. Absolutely shocked. But then again, the competition with all of us it burns within. So, if Patrick Mahomes needed a head coach because Andy Reid retired, would you have that conversation?
Sure.
I probably would too. If they want to hire me, I'll take my chances there as well.
I think the big question, would Miss Terry let him go back to coaching?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I think it's extremely far-fetched at this point. That's why I was also so surprised after the show. Cole and I were talking. It's like, did you think that was like, dude, I didn't even think that was a thing at all. It didn't even cross our minds that would be something that would be picked up and used all over the place.
Greg McElroy joining us. Certainly way to kick things off, Greg. Very, very proud of you to get SEC Media Days going with that. What we were talking about right as you walked up, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway to an extent, even Arch Manning started games. These are almost like the old heads of the league. Maybe, again, as I said, maybe you want to throw and I'm blanking on his name, the quarterback who just transferred from Oklahoma to Auburn, Jackson Arnold.
Oh, Jackson Arnold.
Jackson Arnold. Yeah, talk about seeing the evolution of the quarterbacks going from the last few years to it is wide open when you look at quarterbacks in this league. Aside from Garrett Nussmeier, he is the true old head of the league. And what that makes for the league to be this year.
Well, the game's become so quarterback centric. I mean, if you have a guy that can kind of transcend and carry you, so to speak, then you're going to be in a great spot. It's just made the position just so incredibly important. What I've noticed, I think, this year is we are banking on a lot of upside, which is phenomenal. I think everyone has hope. Everyone's excited. We've seen enough from like a Lenora Sellers to feel real good about what he might do this upcoming season, especially if the supporting cast around him improves. Because if I look last year, I'm calling 2 of their games, felt like he had to do a lot on his own. And that was because the receivers at times were banged up or inconsistent. And he just had to kind of take over games and did so athletically on, probably 3 or 4 games last year. He just flat out took over. Looking, though, as things continue to evolve, it's really exciting to see what he could become. It's exciting to see what Lagway could become. We're all very interested in seeing what Arch Manning might be. So I think that's what makes this year really exciting, is that we've seen potential from a lot of people. Now it's about who's going to be the guy that can elevate to the next level. And I happen to think that your guy, Lenora Sellers, has a real argument to be made as top 2, top 3 quarterback in the league.
What is that difference going into a second year as a starter? You got, 12, 13 games under your belt already. You obviously have the continuity of the guys on your roster. What is that difference in that next offseason leading into year number 2?
I think it's night and day. I mean, for me, I was a 10 times better player my second year than I was my first year. Just you see it all. There's nothing that can get you. I mean, okay, yeah, there are maybe the occasional pressure that you haven't seen. Maybe there's a coverage look that you haven't seen, a disguise you haven't seen. But for the most part, like everything that can be thrown at you is probably thrown at you in your first 12, 13, 14 games of your career. Now everybody knows your faults. Everybody knows your strengths. Everybody knows what you do. Then you start getting curveballs, and you get that throughout the course of that season. Once you figure those out, then you're in a good spot. So I think it takes 10, 12, 14 games to really feel comfortable. But my goodness, once you see the field, the game slows down. You start to know where you're going with the ball. You start to know what it's like to go into a hostile situation and convert that pivotal third down. And just the actual, you can hope. Selling hope's great. Everyone hopes they can do it. But when you've actually done it and you have that internal belief, that is a whole nother level that I think you can go to as a player. And I think there's a bunch of guys that have that belief, but they haven't done it yet. So there's still just the tiniest, slightest bit of doubt. So until you do it, it's kind of hard to eliminate that doubt. So I'm excited to see how guys handle it. It's going to be phenomenal. And I think we have a great year to look forward to this year in the SEC.
Greg, let me ask you here, with the championship, with the college football playoff going to 12 teams and now probably expanding to 16, what becomes the importance of the SEC championship game, playing that extra game to either get the bye or it's not the same as when you played. I think we all agree on that. But how do you view that game opposed to the way it was when you played in it?
It's very different now, with the expanded playoff. It really is. I mean, think about how many times team seasons have come to an end because they lost the SEC championship game. And when I say seasons come to an end, I don't mean necessarily, they don't go to a bowl game. They all go to a bowl game. But Florida in 2009, for example, the SEC championship game was the semifinal. Winner goes to the Natty, losers out. And in the 4-team playoff, in all likelihood, you had to win the league to get in. Were there rare examples in which Bama got in when Georgia won the league, or Georgia got in when Bama won the league, or Ohio State got in when Penn State won the league? Yeah, there are examples of that, but there weren't a ton of examples. So it's different now. It makes it, frankly, a little uncomfortable for me. Just because the conference championship meant so much to us as players, but it can still mean a lot. Winning the league is a massive deal, and one that should always be celebrated and appreciated. But nobody cares in Athens that they won the SEC last year. It's strange, but nobody talks about that. They talk about the Sugar Bowl loss to Notre Dame. So it's been an adjustment, but I still hold conference championship games as the number one goal of the regular season. I think it's the biggest goal of the regular season and should continue to be for the foreseeable future.
Bill and I were talking a little bit earlier about culture, something Shane Beamer talks about a lot at the podium yesterday, and something that South Carolina gets a lot of credit for having good culture. You were obviously at Alabama under Nick Saban, the best culture in all of college football. And, when you got in there, it was a program that was, 500 and going to the, Shreveport for the Independence
Two
Bowl.
Shreveports.
Yeah, and
I
then
had
you.
two Shreveports on my
Back-to-back
resume.
Shreveports.
Yeah.
Okay.
The old
Yeah,
back-to-back
I'm sure.
Shreveport run.
Those are fun Christmases, I'm sure. But you ended obviously at the top of the sport with the national championship. So how do you see culture evolve over those years, and how important is it? I know we kind of use it as a buzzword and a cliche to some degree, but how important is it when a program needs to continue to climb and get to that level of success?
I think it's the secret sauce. I mean, I still am such a huge believer in culture, and while it's not what it was, right? Because it's such a transient game now. Guys are going and in some cases playing for both South Carolina and Clemson in the same career. What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, that is insane to me. If we had a guy from Auburn that decided to come across the state and play for us, I would be like, you are not welcome here. You know what I mean? But that's not where we live anymore. It's different. So I think teams that actually have genuine culture, that can help you win games. Like, it was easier to create in our era because all I ever knew was Bama. Like, all I ever knew was setting the expectation and teaching the young guys, this is how we do it. That was all we ever knew. Now you're having to teach guys that have already developed traits and characteristics for 3 years in some cases at other places, and they're having to learn you in a 6-month or in some extreme cases a 2-month span. You arrive in June, you play in August. So it's wild, but it's different. I think last year was such a massive year for Shane Beamer, not just for winning and nearly making the college football playoff, but I think because it gave proof of concept to a lot of the young guys that are on the roster and the guys that have since departed the program, the Tonka Hemingways, the TJ Sanders, the guys like that were so impactful. They were there for so long. The linebackers that had all played a million games, Eamon Wari, who played a million games, like, those guys left their mark on the program in a remarkable way. Now the young guys are taking that torch. So having such a good collection of veterans last year was huge to set the standard, and now the young guys can live that standard on. So I think it's big, and I think it can absolutely help you win games in crunch time when the game's on the line.
Good stuff, man. We appreciate it. I know you got to run to some other stuff, but thanks for hanging out with us.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Greg McElroy of the SC Network and our sister station WJOX out there in Birmingham. Well, there you have it. Culture's important, Bill.
I am for one shocked. But you heard what he's referencing there. You hear where he's going with that, and I know there were some rough times early on in the Beamer career, in the Beamer tenure, the first 4 years. I go back to obviously that stretch where they got plowed by Tennessee in year one, the famous Jordan Birch pass. They go out to Texas A&M, and that goes very, very poorly. And, then there were times in year two, even in year two, when, you lose to Florida down in Gainesville and you don't score an offensive touchdown. And then somehow you bounce back in a thing that we'll never figure out. And you score 63 points against Tennessee the following week. So there's been good, there's been bad, but I think the long-standing thing for Shane Beamer has been that culture that you just referenced.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth there, and a guy that's been there and done that, and obviously gotten to the heights of college football that we certainly hope to see South Carolina do that, within the Beamer era, and certainly here hopefully very soon.
When we come back to start the next hour, Lenora Sellers. I celebrated last night, Tyler. We had multiple 30-second plus clips of Lenora Sellers.
Well, you did it.
I have whatever. It is the reason I'm taking a week-long vacation next week. I had planned ahead and we hit it. And but a really good interview with him yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about that because there was some interesting little nuggets in there that we got from his. I was fascinated just with the context goggles discussion, but looking to 2025. Mike Shula on the sideline, Mike Shula in the box. Those were some interesting little nuggets that he laid out for us.
Absolutely. We'll get to that next.
You're listening to Tyler Head live in Atlanta. Remember, you can always go to our YouTube channel, The Game TV Radio. Check out what's going on there in Atlanta. I'm here in Columbia. Producer Ed Bird rolling along with us. It is the halftime show. Hour 2. Tyler Head in Atlanta holding down the fort. Bill Gunner here in Columbia. Producer Ed Bird as we get you through day 2 of SEC Media Days. And I have been told, Tyler Head, I've been told by Captain David Dare that we have a Kirby Smart clip that we will have to air at some point.
Yes, once Dave gets those uploaded, apparently it is gold. I stepped back upstairs to come back to take command up here when he answered this question, apparently. So I did not hear it, but yes, apparently it is really, really good, and we have to get to it.
So we will. It is pertaining to Nick Saban, and so as soon as we get that up and going, we will discuss that a little bit. But a lot to get to as we roll through another 2 hours. Again, reminder coming up later in the program around 2:40. Tony Barnhart set to join us later today. I believe that's around 2:30. Tyler knows for sure he is.
Yep,
how you feeling? You feeling stressed over there yet? Are you getting the help? Is Terry and Jay doing anything?
Today's a little better. Dave's helping me out back in the back in Mission Control with sound. See, because I typically do all the sound stuff myself, and last year when they were out in Dallas and I'm sitting there in the studio during breaks, I could do things very quickly, get sound cut up, and have stuff up to date with whatever's going on, as the day goes along. Well, when you have God knows how many radio stations here all using the same internet, everything goes very slowly. So I can't operate at the same kind of clip that I have in the past. So yes, Dave is helping me out tremendously back there.
So we will get to that. We will get to all of that. Kirby Smart speaking today. Actually, as I look up now, it's hard to keep, like Tyler said, it's hard to keep up with all this action. And I say that because Kirby Smart now is on the SEC Network set. Can you see him down there? I see you kind of glancing at me. Is that
I'm exactly diagonal, like right across from where they're sitting.
Okay, yeah. As I look up here on the SEC Network, that is what is going on now, and we'll get ready for the afternoon to tell you more about that. But back to yesterday, had the chance to interview Lenora Sellers, and again, as I like to do, and I think Tyler hopefully doesn't get too annoyed with me. We cut up with him a little bit about a couple different things. Real quick, favorite uniform combo. He went plain. He went very simple.
Yep.
Night games, all black.
Yep.
Day games, all white with the white face mask.
Yep. I mean, sounds good to me. And obviously they've had success with both those kind of uniforms, and they just look good. Again, I will always say, as long as you have black in your color scheme, you can wear black as a uniform. Outside of that, don't do it. But South Carolina, right in line with that, and those black uniforms look great.
So we asked him some of the goofy questions. We opened him up a little bit. He told us about his suit as well. But there was some actual stuff that came from Lenora Sellers yesterday, which maybe I should maybe we, a team here, should pride ourselves more on the fact that we actually got some information to discuss out of Lenora Sellers. And one of them was pertaining to Mike Shula and the relationship he has with him. Here is a little bit of Lenora Sellers yesterday talking in particular about Mike Shula and the transition to Shula from Dow Loggins.
Yeah, it was super smooth. Like, I knew Shula already, so it wasn't like we could start from square zero, like relationship-wise. But it's more of just like him asking me like what I'm seeing, him telling me what I'm seeing, and then we're just compromising and come up with a solution to whatever problems we had. Or if we want a new player or something, just ask me what I think, play names, what to call different plays, what I'm seeing, what he's seeing. So.
And Tyler, that's what you want from your offensive coordinator and your quarterback. And it does matter that in that transition, it's not a new guy coming in and going, how do I pronounce this? Lenoris?
Yeah.
Lenora? What, huh?
Yeah, no, they're going to be on the same page, and whatever, words they use for certain things, the way they look at certain things, that's all going to be the same. I think the debate comes, and we'll get to this in a second, is like, okay, are you actually physically going to be sitting there next to him on the sidelines, or is it going to be somebody else that's going to be that point man when it comes to communicating between Shula and Sellers during the actual game?
Yeah, and this is different for me because really watching the evolution, when Steve Spurrier came here in 2005, the head ball coach was the OC. And at times we would be told, well, Spurrier Jr., it might have been G.A. Mangus or Sean Elliott, whoever, it was all 6 of them. They were all 5 of them, 4 of them. There was 2 of them. They'd spin a wheel in the press box and call that play. But you got to see Spurrier on the sideline, and you got to see him in action. Now, he's probably the greatest ball caller, play caller that's ever been. He probably is.
Sure.
And, but you would get to see him analyze the defense. There's still that great story about 2005 where they go up to Tennessee and they'd run a play around the goal line earlier in the game, and Tennessee had bit on a Sidney Rice fake. And so South Carolina's down there, and they're trying to win the ball game, whatever. They need a touchdown. And he calls timeout. He calls the same play, but he tells, I think it was somebody, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Blake Mitchell to kind of fake. And sure enough, the safety bit just on other plays they'd run. And Sidney Rice ran right behind him for a touchdown in the back of the end zone. And South Carolina goes on to win. If you've watched the documentary on Spurrier, I think it was Shane Matthews that said you'd just be wandering down the hall and Spurrier would call him in and go, "Hey, I got a new ball play.
Yeah.
Study this one. We're going to practice it
Yeah.
this afternoon." But you saw him on the sideline interacting with his quarterbacks and seeing games. So then Spurrier leaves, and here comes old Will Muschamp with Kurt Roper. And good or bad, Tyler, Kurt Roper was in the booth. And so then then I really learned more about what's it like to call a play from the sidelines where you can interact real time in kind of face-to-face, eye-to-eye with your quarterback, or being in the booth and being able to see the game better. And we saw this happen with Marcus Satterfield. Dow Loggins was in the booth. And now the question becomes, all right, what does Mike Shula want to do? I got to admit, if I was a head coach, I think I'd want to hire an offensive coordinator who's calling the game from the sideline. I think that's what I would want to do.
Yeah, and I'm looking here, just kind of Googling. I want to say he was probably in the booth when he was with the Panthers, because I don't see too many pictures of him standing on the sidelines with a headset. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what he's going to do this time around, but at least the last time he was a play caller, with the Panthers, I think he was in the booth, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Well, okay, here's a picture of him with Newton on the sidelines. So I don't know, maybe he did a little bit of both.
Okay. I mean, but that's me. Now here is again Lenore Sellers talking about Mike Shula, and Lenore's had some kind of interesting things to say in regards to this. But here is him talking about Mike Shula being on the field with him or in the press box.
I ask him that all the time. He tells me to wait until August 31st every time I ask him. So
Now, do you have
he's just going to surprise you. You're just going to be standing there. He's going to come up, tap you on your shoulder. Hey, I'm here.
we will see.
Now, would you prefer him to be down at field level again?
Yeah, I prefer him to be back on the field just because that's what we did last year too. So, but if he needs to see something, he probably need to be in the press box.
Tyler, I mean that was a great question.
Yeah.
He ended. What do you prefer, Lenoris?
Yeah, and I can see why he obviously want that continuity from what they did a year ago. But I do wonder, and kind of going back to the question we asked Greg McElroy there at the end of his time with us just a little bit ago, is maybe in that second year he doesn't quite maybe need as much of that arm around his shoulder and kind of like, hey, what'd you see? Tell here's an idea or whatever. Maybe having a year under his belt, he can be a little bit better on his own. Not that they're not going to be communicating, obviously talking back and forth in the booth, but not having him physically there next to you, maybe he'd be okay with that, just given the fact that he has a lot more experience now compared to a year ago. It's just one theory, and maybe he doesn't think about it the same way, but just a thought.
Well, let's hear Lenoris. This is him talking about Mike Shula's role. We know what his role was last year, but this is also a little bit more behind Lenoris Sellers as to why he might want Mike Shula there on the field, because it's how they did things last year. Here is Lenoris yesterday talking about the role of Mike Shula last year on the field. By the way, 27 seconds. We were 3 seconds shy of getting another one, Tyler. But here is Lenoris yesterday.
So he was on the field with me last year. So he has game raw footage pretty much of me if I was super into the game or emotional or anything like that. So I mean, he pretty much knows me pretty well. And then it's like, hey, so hey, what are you seeing? And he just gives me a call sheet. Like, what do you think would be good plays, or what do you like right here? And D'Lo just talked to him. He's like, hey, tell him everything about doing this. And then if I need to tell D'Lo something, he'll be the one to give me contact with D'Lo and all that. So,
what do you take away from that, Tyler? See, I take away there's a comfortability level. And let's say Lenoris Sellers last year, did he grow from Old Dominion to Clemson to Illinois. Boy, did he grow. He's now got 12 starts under his belt. Everybody remember he missed one against Akron, so it's not 13.
That's right.
But he's still kind of a babe in the woods on this. He's still got some learning to do, even though he's been in college. If that's what he's comfortable with and Mike Shula can handle it, that's what I would prefer to see them go with.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of whatever suits your quarterback the best. And I don't know, maybe it's something that they adjust where, hey, maybe week number one, if Shula really wants to be in the booth, they try that. And if Sellers doesn't feel like he's getting the communication he needs or the one-on-one that he needs, then he can go back for game number 2 against South Carolina State. You don't have to stay committed to it the entire season, so it is something that can change, or vice versa. If they start off the season where Mike Shula's on the sidelines and, they're communicating and doing things well, but Shula's like, hey, I think it would benefit me more if I could see the entire field by being up there in the booth, because, again, you get a full view of everything, from almost like when you're playing a video game, you get the all 22. So maybe that's something that changes the other way. I don't really know. It's gonna be interesting to see, but I do think it's funny that Schudley's not giving him any insight as to, hey, you'll find out on August 31st, 47 days from now.
Do you believe that?
I don't. I think maybe right now he doesn't have an answer, but at some point, well before the 31st, I think once we're in the midst of camp or something along those lines, we may get a better answer, because I would imagine we're going to hear from Shula at least a time or two before then, in media availability. So I imagine he's going to be asked about that.
I think it's 15 days from now. I do not remember the exact day of the Shane Beamer Birdies with Beamer golf tournament.
It's coming within the next couple of weeks. I know that much.
They put the date out. I just can't remember.
If we get Shula, we're just going to sit there and hammer him for 20 minutes and like, hey, Booth or Field, what's the deal?
Yeah, we will. I also, what we don't exactly know, because they did a good job, I think, of keeping things kind of under wraps, when they had those spring scrimmages. Where was he? And then Tyler, that they'll have preseason scrimmages in August.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if they're going to do something to kind of work on that and see what it is. 803-404-6100. We'll come back here as we kind of recap a lot of what occurred yesterday. So we'll talk a little bit about Lane Kiffin. Is the Ole Miss window closed? Are we done with Lane Kiffin? Tyler and I will debate that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, your go-to name in the Midlands. And let me tell you right now, if you are having heating or air issues, and more importantly, the air conditioning, kind of important this time of year, it's time for you to be calling AAA Heating and Air with guaranteed financing, with no payments or interest for 12 months and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. That is the reason they are the absolute best in the business. So give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. You want to tell them that Bill Gunner sent you. AAA Heating and Air has a great deal on brand new heating and air units. That's right. Again, guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. But you might just need repairs. Well, AAA Heating and Air is offering incredible deals on repairs. If your system is broken and you're worried about the cost, don't be. They've got you taken care of. 12-month payment plans with no credit checks for all repairs. You just got to be a homeowner with a valid bank account. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500. 118 here as we roll along on your Tuesday. Tyler, how you feeling there? It's still early. Tomorrow's where I start to maybe see you lose a little steam, lose a little as you go into it. How you feeling right now?
Feel good. I'm eating kind of a mashed together taco burrito bowl right here.
Okay.
Still haven't cracked a Dr. Pepper yet, but that's coming very soon. So yeah, for now, feeling good.
We're going to do this later. What are the current Dr. Pepper options? What all did we test yesterday?
Help me out on this, guys. Dr. Peppers we got regular, we got diet, we got zero sugar, we got strawberries and cream. Is there another mixed flavor? Cherry? There's not another like and flavor, is there? Okay. All right. So
That
a
is
little less
awful.
options than you had last year.
I'll tell you what, you guys are they're torturing you all over there. Less
we have nothing.
Yeah, how are y'all surviving over there? Good grief. You're definitely
Barely.
going to be exhausted tomorrow. All right. Well, tomorrow, another day. Yesterday, we're doing a lot of recapping of yesterday. Obviously, Shane Beamer and Brian Kelly spoke, and then you had Lane Kiffin. The best part of Lane Kiffin, all right, this is my takeaway from Lane Kiffin, and I don't know if you've seen this. We can't play this on air because it's like 10 minutes, and I couldn't find one particular clip that really excited me. But if you didn't see it yesterday, the odd couple of Lane Kiffin and Paul Feinbaum, did you watch their little segment together, Tyler, last night? Watching it at any? It's like 10 minutes.
I heard about this. I did not sit down and watch the entire thing.
It is phenomenal television, and let me tell you right now, if whatever happens, I hope we get some kind of game day experience with Lane Kiffin and Paul Feinbaum because they're awkward. They're trying to be honest. It's very
and alt cast with Lane and Paul.
Yes,
I would watch that.
Yes, that you're right. SEC championship game, put playoff game, national championship, whatever. You put me in on Lane and Paul. It might put it's one of two things. You're either going to just die laughing hysterically, or you're going to fall asleep. It depends on how you consume things. But yesterday, Lane Kiffin talking at SEC Media Days, and I apologize. This is going to be cut number 35, Mr. Bird, 35 on Lane Kiffin. And he talked about, Tyler, why Ole Miss has been winning. And here's a little bit of what he had to say.
Well, I think we've had really good players over that time, really good schematical coaches that have helped that. So I think that those usually are the key factors there of playing really well. This last season, we led the SEC in scoring offense and defense. That's really unique to do, and I think that to me shows how good that team was. We played 13 games. We won 10 of them double digits. Not one of those games was really close. And then we went 0-3 in one-score games. So that does, to me, show how far we've come as a program to be able to have games like the Georgia game or going to South Carolina and have a game like that.
Tyler, we opened the program talking about a culture, and then we've got into a little bit of transfer portal. Say what you want about Lane Kiffin. He has been the master at kind of manipulating the transfer portal to this date.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's look at those games that he brought up there where, they played against South Carolina, played against Georgia, and God, we looked at him and said, man, this team might be unbeatable. But then you look at the games they played against Kentucky and Florida, like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be one of the most talented rosters in all of college football. It just didn't make sense. They couldn't put together a full 12 games or even a full 10 games, do enough to get themselves into the 12-team playoff. And I really think that was a missed opportunity given the amount of talent that they had on offense and defense, not making it last year, because I really think they had a roster that was capable of maybe making a deep run in the playoff.
So your question kind of posed was, did the Mississippi window close? Did the Ole Miss window close? I don't know if any window ever closes the way college football is at this current point in time, but you are right. When you look at that team and you look at that roster and you look at what it produced and you look at the quarterback. Now, I already have seen people saying that, hey, Austin Simmons, the new quarterback at Mississippi, or the expected starting quarterback, is going to be better than Jackson Dart. I'm kind of like, well, okay, well, we'll see about that. But there was a lot of talent that left that team this past year that he's got to replace.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we know all about a quarterback that has never started a game before, that's only come in for a few plays and generated a lot of hype. And obviously, Sellers came out of the gate a little shaky, but his stride towards the back half of last season, that could happen with Austin Simmons. He could be a Heisman Trophy front runner by the end of the year, or he could just be somebody that falls flat on his face. We don't really know. Now, again, when everything you read and hear about him, the hype is very high, and they anticipate he's going to be a great player. So we'll have to see. I don't think he has all the same compliments around him that Jackson Dart had last year, and one of the best wide receivers in college football in in Trey Harris, and Juice Wells did what he could to a degree on that offense as well. But I don't think it's as loaded of a roster as they had a year ago, which is why I posed the question of, did they maybe not have their window closed, but did they miss maybe their best opportunity to win a championship, or at least fight for one that they didn't even make playoffs for last year?
Well, this is you bring up an interesting question there about win a championship, and this is, I think, where South Carolina is this year. And as you just said, win a championship. This dawned on me, so I'm going to throw it at you. Where South Carolina is at or is at now is kind of where Ole Miss was last year. Do you kind of agree with that? Like, you're 9-3. Mississippi went into last year kind of as the darling of the ball, right? Big time quarterback, a lot of weapons. Now the difference is people look guys that they had added like Walter Nolan, and also the defensive end from Florida, Prince something.
You may me yelling. You mind me yelling?
We could lose a whole
Did I
show.
say that right?
Yeah, we could lose a whole show to trying to get that.
Okay, it's you, man, me yelling, according to Elijah.
You, man, me. Yeah,
Princely you. We know who you're talking about.
There you go. Look, just go with that. Don't make it too tough. But the bottom line is they actually had a lot of pieces on defense that people looked at and studied. We don't have that on South Carolina with the defense. But this was your chance, to your point, on the window for Kiffin and that team to elevate that program. Oh, they're now a playoff team. Look at what they did. We want to go there. Instead, they fumbled, and now there are people. I'll blame you, Tyler Head. I got blamed for something this morning on the early game show. It was just crazy, but we blame you, saying the window's closed.
Yeah, and talking about perception as well, if they're a team this year that once again kind of hovers around 8 to 9 wins but can't get in the playoff, I think the perception becomes, Lane Kiffin can have a good team but not a good enough team. And you make a really good point that I do think a lot of South Carolina's hype is very akin to what Ole Miss was dealing with the season ago, minus, again, just the mercenaries they brought in, on defense. But they're the hot commodity. They're the hot name of kind of the team that we think has the opportunity to jump to that next level of the SEC. Because, again, you've got the Alabamas, the Georgias, and now Texas, obviously, they're occupying that top spot, and LSU can kind of float around there. But I think we're always waiting for that next team to burst through that ceiling and become a regular contender. And it looked like Ole Miss was going to have the opportunity to do that. And maybe now South Carolina has a chance to do that this year. We'll see.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. That's where the pressure lies, is in taking this program, the University of South Carolina, to the next step. I do agree with you. Lane Kiffin and Mississippi missed that step. They lost Jackson Dart, an incredibly good quarterback. I don't know if we want to call him generational, but an incredibly good quarterback. With that being said, where is Mississippi picked on Thursday in the SEC and the media polls? Would you agree? You assume we're going to go with both? They play each other in November. Is Mississippi going to be behind South Carolina? I'm not asking you to pick where they're at. Who is higher, South Carolina or Mississippi?
I think purely on the quarterback alone, I think it's going to be South Carolina. I could realistically see them being like 5-6 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be separated by much, but I do think the Sellers factor gives Carolina just the slight nod over Ole Miss in the eyes. And again, I'm thinking about this from the perspective of everyone here, not myself necessarily, but I think that's how it's going to be viewed.
803-404-6100. Next up, we will recap yesterday by moving to. We're going to talk Clark Lee, but Clark Lee's not really the story from yesterday. Diego Pavia, also the story. We'll talk about both of those people, Diego Pavia and Clark Lee, over the next two segments, and get into that Kirby Smart audio that I am now just can't wait to hear. You're listening to Tyler Head in Atlanta, Bill Gunner here in Columbia, and producer Ed Bird. It is the halftime show. 1:33 on your Tuesday afternoon. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, producer Ed Bird, as we roll along, covering everything going on at SEC Media Days, the College Football Hall of Fame. Tyler, had you been there before at the College Football Hall of Fame before this week?
Yeah, I went once about a decade ago and did the little tour and everything. So I was actually just looking at that a minute ago in the break, and the part where you come in to take the tour, they take you in a little theater and they show you a little video about the history of college football and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's right over there. You don't think about the fact that you're sitting like in a museum right now, and like I turn around, there's still the exhibits and stuff behind me. But yeah, it's neat to be back in this kind of way.
Yeah, if you're heading over for, like a Braves weekend, or maybe going to catch a Falcons game or Atlanta United game, definitely make the College Football Hall of Fame part of your stop. Really cool venue. And if you're watching us, again, remind you can always go to our live stream, go to the Game TV radio. You can even get in there and chat with our Clemson buddy, Ian, who little off his rocker today, but that's okay. We appreciate him each and every day joining us on our live stream. We got also Mike is in there. I've seen RT in there as well. A lot of great people that want to join and watch every day. But if you go there, you can look over RL. I'm sorry, I said RT. RL is in there as well. Steven has been in there. But if you look right behind Tyler, you can see kind of a football field. They've got the tables up. Tyler, you want to kind of describe that? I've seen it plenty of times, but it's kind of a football field, but that you can go and do stunts on during during when they're not doing a big media session.
Yeah, typically you can come in and attempt to make a field goal, which I think many people learn in this exact place that kicking field goals is not easy. So if you ever criticized kicker, you know how hard it is. But yeah, you can kick field goals and do various other things on this. It's about 30 to 40 yard kind of area of artificial turf they got set up down there that looks like it's got the Peach Bowl skin or Peach Bowl end zone skin on it as of right now. But yeah, and then you have the area of entrance where they got displays up and all that kind of stuff. And right now, Josh Heupel standing up at the podium talking, and all the media down there, listening and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, cool place. If you've never been here before, definitely recommend checking it out. And again, if you're just a fan of college football like all of us are, this is something that can certainly be a fun trip for you.
803-404-6100. You can weigh in. Again, you can always go to our live stream, the Game TV radio on YouTube, and check out and even jump in and have a little afternoon conversation. You can pretend like you're working on your computer, but you're actually having some football conversation on our live stream. Vanderbilt. I mean, I don't know. Look, here's what during the day before you were with us there, Tyler, we would go to Birmingham. Derek Mason he understood the job. He would get there a day early. He wouldn't have Tyler. You've really seen him out now more than ever. When we go to get a guest, normally they've got some kind of publicist next to them, or the SID, or somebody with ESPN. Derek Mason would essentially walk up and down the road trying to promote Vanderbilt football and kind of just sit down. If you had an empty chair, he might just sit down right there and ask to put a headset on. It was a combination of both annoying and understanding. Hey, I got to promote Vanderbilt football.
No, he when he took the job, he was well aware that, hey, this is a place where they don't do a whole lot of winning, and I got to do my best to make people interested, make people care about Vanderbilt football. And yeah, did they have a couple moments with Derek Mason? Sure, but he kind of ended up going the way of most coaches at Vanderbilt. There, you just keep on losing and losing and losing, and eventually say, all right, well, this guy didn't work. Let's go fire him, find somebody else, and then have this same old song and dance in another 5 to 6 years.
And you talk about that, the loser mentality. And yesterday, Clark Lea's trying to get his team out of that, 7-6 last year. Here's what Clark Lea had to say about that type of mentality in Nashville.
I learned pretty quickly at Vanderbilt just how damaged we were mentally. And I would say that's probably been the hardest part of this build is draining the program of that attitude, also shifting the ancillary aspects of our program from a losing approach to a winning approach. I mean, that's taken time, but I think at this point we can confidently say, hey, our expectation is to win. We know that winning isn't easy. We know that there are going to be ups and downs. The way we impact the outcome is to focus in the moment. And we have proof of concept that when we did those things a year ago, we were able to come out on top.
Now, Tyler, I think myself and Jay can speak to this from the standpoint of we've seen we've seen Bobby Johnson go in there and be a real thorn in the side of South Carolina. Bobby Johnson actually beating Steve Spurrier in South Carolina twice. James Franklin comes in, and while South Carolina never lost to him, James Franklin was a thorn in the side of a lot of schools in the SEC East. Then you've had the Derek Masons and the Woody Woodenhoffers and the Jared DiNardos and some other guys that we were like, oof. But every once in a while, they come along and they get this coach. But that coach is usually accompanied by some kind of star player. And right now, they've got a guy, and we're going to talk about him in the next segment, Diego Pavia, who's not afraid to say what he wants to say and say, hey, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, and the difference this time around with Clark Lee is obviously he's an alum, right? He played for Vanderbilt. It means a lot to him. You know, he was the defensive coordinator at a Notre Dame team that was very, very good and obviously towards the top of college football, and he left there to come to Vanderbilt to coach at his alma mater. So, you know, you look at a guy like James Franklin, well, he used that as a stepping stone to get the Penn State job. You don't feel like Clark Lee is trying to get somewhere else by being the head coach of Vanderbilt. You feel like he really wants to make Vanderbilt into a consistent winning program. So when you hear it from a guy like him coming off what they did a year ago, namely that upset against Alabama, for the first time in a long time, maybe you actually kind of believe that that could be the case at a place like Vanderbilt.
So do you give more credit to Diego Pavia or to Clark Lee?
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because
I'm only here to ask the tough questions, Tyler.
Yeah. They had a decent season a couple years ago with with Clark Lee. They came back down to earth in 2023. And remember when they came into Willie B the last time, Carolina ran all over them with relative ease in that game. Last time they had a special teams touchdown, by the way. And it just seemed like bringing it, and it wasn't just bringing in Pavia. It was bringing in Jerry Kill. It was bringing in Eli Stowers, basically migrating what was successful over in New Mexico to Vanderbilt. That I think was a big reason why they had that success last year. The hope for them is that showing that they can win entices more higher end recruits to want to come to Vanderbilt and be kind of like Diego Pavia was when it came to the success they had a season ago. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, I think there's more belief there than there has been in years past.
Part of that is how Diego Pavia plays, and Clark Lee spoke about his star quarterback yesterday and the reckless abandon with which he plays.
Look, Diego, we don't talk about self-preservation, but we need to build ways in our system that do protect him. And I see that more as establishing a run game through the tailback. We need him to take over the game at some point. And the way he plays is the way he plays. We can build around him to protect him a little bit and not give him the option to pull the ball. If we can do a better job of moving people at the point of attack in our offensive line, we believe in our running backs. I think we have a good group of running backs that can become some of the best in the conference. There's no productive conversation that comes, and really, there's no winning conversation that comes between me and Diego where I'm talking about, taking care of himself in the competitive moment. He needs to play to his personality. We will protect him.
Play to his personality, Tyler Head. Well, guess what? When we come back, we'll let you hear old Mr. Personality, Diego Pavia himself, and what the goals are for Vanderbilt going into 2025. I don't blame him for saying it. I don't blame him for the goals. Everybody should have a monster goal, right?
Sure.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
No, yeah. Believe in yourself.
We will let you hear from Diego Pavia, what he had to say yesterday. When we return, it is the halftime show. and we look forward to having him coming up here in just a little while on the program with us. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in at all this afternoon. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, as we get you going here and keep you rolling along. So as we just mentioned, Tyler, oh boy, you just knew Diego Pavia would do something. He loves the spotlight. He's great for college football. I think he's great.
Sure.
I think guys like this are great for college football, but let's hear the clip yesterday. Producer Ed, here is Diego Pavia talking about the 2025 season for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Well, I got to finish something that I started, going 7-6 wasn't good enough, and I want the national championship. And so to be back here, one last dance it's going to be awesome.
Okay. All right.
So I want to tie this into South Carolina in the best way that I can, because Chris and I had this conversation in the 11 o'clock hour when, Sellers yesterday, as you would expect, was getting asked about the multi-million-dollar, $4 million deal to go to Auburn and transfer that he turned down to stay at Carolina that was written about in The Athletic. And I said to Chris, is there a perception that South Carolina shouldn't have a quarterback like Sellers because they don't have a rich history when it comes to quarterbacks? And I think you can almost ask a similar question with what Diego Pavia is talking about there. Because, look, if a quarterback from any of the other roughly 15 schools in the SEC says, yeah, hey, I'm here to win a national championship, we go, yeah, okay, that sounds about right. But when a Vanderbilt quarterback does that, we're like, come on, dude, you know where you're at, right? Let's get real. But, why shouldn't you think that way? You know what I mean? That is the ultimate goal of everybody in college football, to achieve that highest prize. And it's just, we never really hear that from Vanderbilt quarterbacks until now.
That's a great question. You have a very valid point. There are two sides to that particular point that I just, depending on how you want to break it down, where you want to go. Number one, I remember Steve Spurrier early on in his South Carolina tenure, early on, and he was asked, he said, you're not the same Steve. You're not talking about winning championships like you were at Florida. You're not coming in here. You're saying our goal is to beat Clemson and to have a winning record and to have a winning SEC record. And Spurrier said, point blank, we don't have the team to win a national championship. And he said, if you set that as your goal, he goes, if you set that as one of your goals and you lose 2 games, then all of a sudden your guys look around and go, well, we can't win the national championship. What are we playing for anymore?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you don't have a whole list of goals, right? It doesn't mean you have a whole list. But at the end of the day, and then on the other side of that opinion, I'd say, I want my team, regardless of what if I'm at Eastern Michigan or just Ohio, not Ohio State, Ohio, I want my team going, we're going to somehow become one of the playoff teams out of the non-Power 5. We're going to get in, and we're going to shock the world. We're going to do it. We're going to win it. This is our year, Tyler.
Listen, somebody eventually has to become the greatest Cinderella story that college football has ever seen. So why not you, right? Why not you?
But this is what makes, and I'll say this, and I think one reason I like Diego Pavia is he's embraced this role, and he knows that if he went to, I think he knows, I'm going to assume, that if he went to an Auburn, or if he had gone, let's even throw in Arkansas, I don't even know, Talon Green's there. But let's just say
he kind of owns Auburn anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. But let's just hypothetically say that he had decided to go to Auburn. We know Auburn was throwing money around in the transfer portal like it was no big deal at all. But if he goes to Auburn, he's just one of another bunch of dudes. He'll never be mentioned in the Cam Newton. He'll never be mentioned in the. I don't know if this is maybe too young for you, because his son. He'll never be mentioned in Patrick Nix type celebrity status. That
was a little before my time.
Yeah, I went way back on that. He's never going to be Bo Jackson. But at Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia is a legend. He is an absolute legend. Especially if he stays there and they win 8 or 9 games.
It is. And look, if Clark Lee is there for a very long time, which again, given the fact that he's an alum, maybe his leash will be even longer. And as long as they can continue to win and make bowl games, I think he will be there for a long time. But let's say that they do go on to have a good deal of success. They become an 8-9 win team. Maybe they make the playoffs or time or two. Then I think Diego Pavia is kind of looked at as the catalyst for all that change and all those things suddenly getting better for whatever this program is going to accomplish years going forward. Because again, we've just never seen a player with the swagger and moxie of a Diego Pavia at a place like Vanderbilt with success to back it up. I'm sure there have been plenty of guys out there good behind a microphone, and they go out there and go 4-8. Nobody cares what they have to say. But when you can tote around the fact that you beat Alabama as the #1 team in the country, that's something that makes people pay attention to. Because again, if they hadn't won that game, they hadn't pulled that upset, would we really be paying that much attention to them? Absolutely not. That one game can completely shift the perception of a program and one player like Diego Pavia, like it did last year.
Well, and the other thing is he can set a standard because of the NIL era. People can look at him, and Vanderbilt can use him. Hey, this guy came here and won. He got money. I don't know what he's getting paid. He has floated out there that he's in the market of $3.5–4 million. Whether that's legitimate or not, I have no idea. But he has floated that out there, and now he can kind of run with it. And other players, recruits, if Clark Lee can win and get them in, he can look at it. They can look at those recruits and go, "Hey, Diego Pavia got $3.5 million here in Nashville." And by the way, let me tell you, Nashville not a bad place to have $3.5 million.
Well, and again, Vanderbilt is the Harvard of the South. They have a very successful and rich alumni base that if you give them a reason to care about football, guess what? They'll start buying into it. So there's a lot of positive things that can come of what last season was, and what Diego Pavia was for Vanderbilt, last year and going into this year, obviously, that can really alter what that program is going to be going forward.
154 here as we start to wrap things up. Hour number 3 on the way, and I feel like, Tyler, we have not heard the last of Diego Pavia. And by the way, he's also already come out and said, game number 3 circled on his calendar.
That is going to be an interesting night in Williams-Brice Stadium. I can see that. I don't think either he nor Sellers will leave anything on the table when that game's all over with.
No, and I like South Carolina in that game because it's a night game. And I do feel like any stadium Diego Pavia walks into, he needs to keep his helmet on. Don't take the helmet off. Don't take the helmet off.
Definitely.
Hour 3 on the way. We'll get back into a little bit of what Greg Sankey said yesterday, and we'll have that Kirby Smart audio. It's Tyler Head. It's Bill Gunner. It's producer Ed Bird. It's the Halftime Show. Tyler, does it feel like just a Tuesday, or do you already feel like it's Thursday?
Well, I've cracked open the first Dr. Pepper of the day, so I guess we're off and rolling now.
Yay. And from this vantage point, it appears to be a strawberries and cream.
Yes, it is the zero sugar flavor.
Wait, there's a strawberries and cream regular and a strawberries and cream zero sugar.
Yes, I just learned this today as well. It was the closest. I opened the fridge. It was the closest one there, so I grabbed it.
Okay. All right. So Tuesday here on the Halftime Show final hour. Coming up later on this hour, it'll be Tony Barnhart joining us around 2:30 for us, and we look forward to catching up with him and talking some college football. We've been talking a lot about yesterday's stuff, from Shane Beamer to Lenora Sellers. And if you haven't listened or you didn't see it, go to our Twitter page, 1075 The Game, or you can go to mine at Will, W-I-L, Gunter, G-U-N-T-E-R. We have reposted that. And Tyler, that was, again, a great way to really start the week. A lot of fun there talking to Lenora yesterday about not just off the field funny stuff, but some actually important stuff, such as Mike Shula being up in the booth or down on the field with him.
Yeah, and again, we'll get the answer hopefully at some point here these next couple of weeks on where exactly Coach Shula is going to be positioned when it comes to calling the game. But it seems like Lenore Sellers would like him to be down there on the sidelines because that's what he is comfortable with. And again, if that can help you and benefit you to win some more games, and obviously you would love to see that happen. So we'll see there. It was nice to also hear that Sellers is kind of slowly coming out of his shell a little bit. Again, he's not going to go out there and give you suddenly 3-minute answers at press conferences or anything like that, but he does seem a little bit more comfortable in the media setting. And again, when you're the face of the team now and getting a lot more opportunity to be out there in public, do commercials, those kind of things that we've seen him do, you got to be more comfortable speaking, especially somebody that's likely going to be in the NFL, if not next year, in the next couple of years, that you got to get real comfortable dealing with media. So it is good to see these starting to kind of open up a little bit and let that personality shine. So,
of course, you can obviously go back and hear that. Just go to my Twitter account. I don't know if you've posted. I hate to say I'm not 100% sure, but you can go to my Twitter account at Will, W-I-L, Gunter, G-U-N-T-E-R.
I will retweet it. I have not even touched Twitter today with how busy it's been, but I will retweet that.
Okay. It only gets busier. Day 3 will be even more exhausting. But hang in there. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
Day 2 has gotten underway. We're a long way in it. Kirby Smart spoke earlier. Now we're going to play a clip here.
Literally walking by me as we speak.
Okay. All right. Wait, ask him about it just real quick. Just yell Nick Saban and see what happens. See if he flinches or gets on the floor.
He's out of earshot now.
Okay. All right. Earlier today, well, let's start this over. And big thank you to Greg McElroy for joining us in the first hour. But Greg McElroy knew how to kick off SEC media days. How it got brought up and exactly the context of the comments no longer matter, right, Tyler? All we need is a clip. Greg McElroy says Nick Saban will return to coaching.
Yeah, that's something that kind of sparked a wildfire yesterday. That I did pull the clip of him clarifying, and you heard what he said when he sat down with us a little bit earlier. But yeah, that's something that I could see how people would take and run with. Yeah, so he instantly. As a matter of fact, I tell you what. Captain Dave, let's listen because this is going to lead us somewhere. This is clip 48 from today, 48. This is Greg McElroy, and he was on with us earlier, but this is him clarifying his Saban unretiring rumors.
I don't know why anybody has come to that conclusion. I did have a couple of people that I respect say, don't rule out Coach getting back in it. He's too competitive. I think he loves the game too much. Like, don't rule it out. I'm like, no way. Come on. That was my reaction like everybody else. Roll. Come on, get out of here. No, I was like, just saying, don't rule it out. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll ask Paul. like Paul's connected. I'll ask him on the show on Monday. So I asked him point blank. I was like, Paul, I wouldn't ask the question if it weren't a couple people I trust and respect that seem to think that this is a possibility. And Paul and I both kind of laugh like, no, absolutely not. I don't see it as a likelihood. Like, he's completely content doing what he's doing. I don't get it. So I just am surprised that basically me asking Paul if he had more information on it has now turned into Coach Saban has taken the Miami Dolphins head coaching job.
All right. Doing what media does, Tyler. Greg McElroy's sources, personal sources, good sources, as he said, very close buddies, people very much in the know, have said basically expect Nick Saban to return to coaching. That's how the media thing works.
Yeah. That's how it's certainly spun. Instead, more along the lines of, well, I mean, he wouldn't be opposed to it. Basically, he would think about it, I guess, is the best way to to phrase it, which even like thinking about it, like again, did you ever ask your parents for something as a kid and they're like, we'll think about it. And that means no, just a delayed no that they're going to tell you later.
That's a good point. Well, today Kirby Smart was asked what he thought about the rumors of Nick Saban returning. Now, Tyler,
Dave has been hyping this up, so this better be good.
You haven't heard it. I haven't heard it. Captain Dave says
I had come back upstairs by the time he was asked this question.
Captain Dave.
Jay Phillips might weigh in on it, though. He's putting a headset on.
Oh, that's great. That's what we need on this program, Jay Phillips. All right, before we get to the one and only Jay Phillips, let's hear it. Captain Dave says it's pure gold, Jerry. Pure gold. Here's Kirby Smart responding to Nick Saban potentially returning to college football.
Yeah, I called him and offered him Muschamp's job, but he was overqualified, so he wasn't interested. No, I heard all the scuttlebutt and everything about it. I almost laughed. It was like somebody needed something interesting to talk about yesterday, so they chose to go to Coach Saban to do it. You know, the game's better with him involved, and he is involved. He is passionate about it. He and I still talk and share ideas from time to time about defensive philosophies and the way to do things, and he's still watching tape and very, very involved in football. He loves it. And his brilliance, as brilliant as he is in many ways, is around football. I mean, it's around scheme. It's around another way to do something to stay ahead of the offensive minds. And I think that's one of the elite talents he has. And he still loves that. He's still passionate about that. But make no mistake about it, the boss at home is going to make that call for him.
All right. Well, the opener was a very good opener.
Hold on. Can I phrase this of what that headline's going to be?
Go ahead.
Nick Saban turns down Georgia analyst job. There, did I do that right?
That's very good. That's
yeah.
That's very good. Or you can spin it the other way and says Kirby Smart turns down Nick Saban's request for analyst job. He's overqualified.
There you go.
And then it's like Kirby made that joke and then realized, oh wait, I was being a little bit too funny right there. Let me go back to a very serious analytical view of what Nick Saban did so well during his college football career.
Yeah. So that's I figured somebody might try and have fun with him with that.
Yeah, good job for Kirby and good job, Captain Dave. Very good audio, very, very clever, very good. And I think there's a lot of men out there that know that they're in the long run, the significant other is the one that truly makes the final decision, no matter what you think. So maybe it needs to be reworded real quick. It needs to be Miss Saban returning to college football.
Well, that's the thing is that, I asked Greg earlier, I was like, hey, do you think Miss Terry would let him go back to coaching? Which the answer would be probably not. He's still probably working on that long list of chores that he's, been slacking off on for the past couple decades.
Very true. Very true. 803-404-6100. All right. Now, do we have Jay Phillips? Has Jay Phillips got his head?
No, Jay just wanted to hear the actual clip. He didn't want to weigh in on it.
Okay, good.
He's busy doing other things.
I didn't want to hurt his feelings either when I was making a joke. 803-404-6100. Greg Sankey did speak, and we haven't really discussed all that much about Greg Sankey, but the question is, Tyler, do we ever get a playoff resolution?
Oh man, I don't know. We had Rich Clark on from the playoff with the executive director of the college ball playoff a little bit earlier, and he's the one that gets to sit in those meetings. He wouldn't give us the insight on exactly how heated they become, but I imagine there's a lot of tension in those because, again, how many times have they met in just this calendar year alone in Nashville and Dallas and Florida and all these places? Hey, they're going in a room. They're going to hammer this out. They're going to figure something out. And then we come away from it and we still don't know anything. So who knows when they're going to give us an answer.
Let's hear Greg Sankey yesterday. And this is in his opening statements talking about the different views of the college football playoff format.
Well, I would never give away how close we are to doing something in a meeting. I think Tony and I spoke probably 4 out of 5 days last week. I think Jim and I either talked on the phone or communicated 3 out of 5 days last week. So we had a different view coming out of Destin around the notion of allocations, if you will. And I think you'll probably hear that again from our coaches. The Big Ten has a different view. That's fine. We have a 12-team playoff, 5 conference champions. That could stay if we can't agree. I think there's like this notion that there has to be some magic moment and something has to happen with expansion and it has to be forced. No, I think we want to use, when you're given authority, you want to be responsible in using that authority. And I think both of us are prepared to do so. And the upfront responsibility, and this may be where some of the confusion lies, is we have the ability to present a format or format ideas, gather information, see if we can all agree within that room. We don't need unanimity. And ultimately, if not, there's a level of authority granted to the Big Ten and SEC together. But there's a lot to that. It's not you just show up and pound your fist and something happens. I hope that type of narrative can be reduced. But we'll keep talking. We all talk a lot, probably too much sometimes, right?
A lot of veiled threats, I felt like, in there. Just a lot of like, hey, we're going to let you talk, but don't show up and pound the desk and do all this. And,
Bill, you have children. Are your kids picky eaters at all?
one of them once snuck mushrooms into his pocket and threw them away downstairs and then told me he ate them.
Okay. Well, I kind of view what these meetings are as, Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, they're the parents of the group here, right? And, they put mushrooms on the plate of the Big 12 and the ACC, and they basically say, hey, if you want dessert, got to eat the mushrooms. It's fine. You don't have to have dessert, but if you want to have dessert, which you really want that, you got to eat the mushrooms. Take it or leave it. So as much as your Mark, and I'm sure Jim Phillips will have plenty of things to say when the ACC has their media days coming up here, they understand that they don't yield really any of the power, and it's up to the two big dogs to decide what the future of this thing's going to be, and they'll be generous enough to allow them to continue to be a part of it, but they're more content than anything else to go off and do their own thing if it ever comes to that, as we well know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we look at it right now, if you're doing it in real time and where we stand today, the order of the conferences, got to go with the Big Ten, number one. They've won the last two national championships, the SEC at 2. Then you'd have the Big 12 at 3 and the ACC at 4. So I will kind of be interested to see what they allowed Jim Phillips to say.
Yeah. Well, I'll say your Mark is a little more out there with not being afraid to poke the bear, and I give him credit for that. But again, he doesn't yield that much more power than Jim Phillips does. So we'll wait and see what he has to say coming up here soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Both the scheduling of 2026 for the SEC and the College Football Playoff, you do honestly kind of look at it and be like, I mean, come on, guys. We're not asking y'all to put together a rocket to fly to the moon or to some other planet that we've never been to. This is not all that difficult. And quite frankly, we're not dumb. We know that two conferences are pretty much controlling everything. If you want to set it up and tell the ACC and the Big 12 to play hardball with you, either they will or they won't.
Well, and it seemed like we were definitely trending towards the 4+4+2+2+1 model when the SEC was in line with that. And it's like, okay, well, if the top two dogs agree on it, it's definitely going to happen. And then Sankey and the powers that be here were like, hey, wait a minute. If we go to like 5 and 11, we can get way more teams in this thing. Yeah, let's do that. So that's kind of where the stalemate is here. And again, December 1st is apparently the deadline. We'll see if they can get there or not.
December 1st. They can't get here fast enough. 803-404.
Maybe we'll know Faison's eligibility by then.
Yeah, which one? Yeah. Over under Faison's eligibility or the College Football Playoff? Yeah.
Oh God, who knows?
You really want to change the odds? The 2026 SEC schedule as well. 803-404-6100. Come back. Get into a little bit more of what Greg Sankey had to say. Understanding SEC's money, well, it's made right here at home, and we'll explain what we're talking about when we return. It's the Halftime Show. Coming up in about 10, 12 minutes. These things are always slightly fluid. We'll have Tony Barnhart on, and Jay Phillips will join us as well to handle that interview. 803-404-6100. How you can weigh in if you want to do so. Tyler Head in Atlanta, myself here, and Greg Sankey. Have you seen him still wandering around it, or did he do his piece and was like, I'm gone? You guys handle the rest of the convention.
I saw him poking around a little bit earlier. I believe tomorrow y'all have Sankey. Tomorrow afternoon? Yeah, tomorrow Jay and Terry have Sankey on, I believe around 3:15 to start their show. So yeah, I don't think he gets to stray too far away from the SEC media days. I think he's locked in for all 4 days.
Got to be.
I think he has to give like a closing on Thursday, doesn't he? Does he do that? No, I don't think so. Maybe that's something else.
Maybe I've been.
No, it's the spring meetings where he speaks like 20 times during the week.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta admit now, you'll be pretty zoned out as well by late Thursday afternoon. Jay and I usually made it a point to get out of there about as quickly as we could.
Do we have who is speaking last on Thursday? Do we have that on the schedule?
I can get it real quick.
Who's got the death slot? Because that's the one where everybody's trying to leave.
Yeah. Jay and I think one year we got kind of stuck down there, I think in Birmingham, and Beamer had like the second to last spot. That was not a whole lot of fun. But I'll have to go back and see this week.
Yeah. Elijah says he thinks it's Elko. That may be
he's pretty boring.
That may be the going away coach.
Yeah, he's a pretty boring. Good coach. Don't get me wrong. Being a good coach and being boring is not mutually exclusive. But coming up, let's see, tomorrow, by the way, real quick, tomorrow, get up early. You got Kalen DeBoer there at 9:05. So right as you go on, you'll be able to sit there and do the extra point and look down on Kalen DeBoer. Jeff Levy at 10:50. Billy Napier at 1 o'clock tomorrow, as we will be discussing Brent Venables with Oklahoma. We'll wrap everything up tomorrow. And then Thursday, it's Drinkowitz in the morning, Stoops at 10:50, Sam Pittman at 1 o'clock, and then everybody will bolt out of there. It'll look like.
I think it's perfect. They put Napier in the middle of the day. It's perfect for nap time.
There you go.
Because he can put you to sleep.
Yeah. Well, you won't feel rushed to come back from lunch, and if you've had a big lunch, everybody will know it. 803-404-6100. A little bit more Greg Sankey yesterday talking about, hey, I don't know, NFL's doing it. Why not the SEC? International games. Here's what Sankey had to say.
George, I'll go back and share some thoughts I've probably shared over time. One is the strength of this conference is based in our communities. That may not be the same for others, but you look at the 16 cities that host our universities, the football stadiums, the infrastructure, and what happens on a game day weekend. It's absolutely magnificent, second to none. With that said, this may build some of my credibility with you. I sat once with the Lord Mayor of Dublin to talk about playing football games involving SEC teams. We've had interest. When you take a football stadium with 100,000 fans and the economics around that football game being played in that stadium and that community, and then you transfer those someplace else, it's a lot easier to do that if a program's attendance is 20, 30,000 of their football stadiums that size. So there are some economic realities that weigh against just doing that. Personally, I'd welcome that chance, and we'll continue to explore opportunities. But I'll go back to the importance of college football in our region, in our states, and in our communities, and the foundation and strength of our conference fundamentally is built on those communities. I also think we do a pretty good job internationally on our own with just drawing interest, because doggone, it's compelling. We are not boring and dull, I can tell you that.
All right. Did he low key flex on every? Did I like it went in so subtle that did I catch that he had a conversation with the Lord Dublin? What was that again?
Yeah, the Lord something of Dublin. It sounds like so. It was basically saying like, yeah, they wanted us, but we're not interested. Look, I looked this up. So all 4 power conferences have played, with the exception of the SEC, have played the international games within the past 4 years. Big 12 is going to have 2 teams squaring off in Dublin coming up here in week number 0. But Greg Sankey's right. Look, he knows where the money's made. Like the bread and butter of the SEC is right here in the backyards, right here in Athens, in Columbia, in Starkville, in Tuscaloosa, all these places. It would not benefit the SEC enough to take two of those teams and plop them in England or France or somewhere like that, minus the tourist dollars or whatever. But no, they understand them. They make more money being here and having 100,000 people inside Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night.
803-404-6100. Just yes or no. And if you say yes, where? Yes or no. Would you want to see South Carolina play an international game? Yes or no?
A better question. Would you be willing to risk a home game to see
Okay.
South Carolina playing an international game? Because that's the thing. You play an international game, you lose a home game.
And let's be clear about this. We're talking, Tyler and I are making it difficult on you. We're talking Europe. You can't say, I'd love to go to the Bahamas for an August
not
or September
that one.
game. Yeah, no.
No, you got to fly across the pond. It's like a 6-hour difference.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Yes or no? 803-404-6100. If your answer is yes, tell us where. Germany, Spain, England, wherever. If your answer is no, just no. You know how to do that. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Tyler and Jay Phillips will talk with Tony Barnhart. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
All right, welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head here from Digital Drive at SEC Media Days at the College Football Hall of Fame. Jay has gone off to track down our guest, Mr. College Football himself, Tony Barnhart, who should be around here somewhere. I've seen him running around over the course of the past day and a half. I feel like I've run into him about 20 times already and haven't actually formally introduced myself. So we'll get that done here in just a second while Jay is over there attempting to track him down. Real quick, though, want to remind you, as always, about the great partners that are allowing us to be here for SEC Media Days. Those include Lawyer Lisa. If you need to talk estate planning, elder law, elder care, or probate, call Lawyer Lisa at 803-563-1563. Go to lawyerlisa.com. Also, Game Day Men's Health, as well as Lexington Discount Homes. All these great partners allowing us to be out here for SEC Media Days. Josh Heupel just wrapping up not too long ago on the stage. I believe Steve Sarkisian going to be going here in about 45 minutes. That'll wrap up day number 2. And as you know, once Sarkisian comes in with Texans contingent, all eyes can be focused on Arch Manning. And as we're sitting here, if you can see on the live stream, the Peach Bowl field that we have behind us here at the College Football Hall of Fame, they have these little podiums in the individual corners where they put the players at when it's the respective team's time to go in there. And you can see, obviously, all the crowds kind of gathering around, each individual player. And obviously, we've seen some big crowds for guys like Pavi. It seemed like Sellers had a decent amount of guys behind him. But, gosh, they may need to open up a second room for all the people that are going to be interested in trying to get around, Arch Manning when he's going in there and talking in, again, roughly about 40 or 45 minutes. Or I guess technically Manning would probably talking about an hour after Steve Sarkisian's wrapped everything up at the podium right there. But again, Arch Manning, kind of the hot commodity and the guy people are waiting around to see and hear from as his era at Texas does begin here very, very soon. They'll kick things off in 46 days. Bill, you still there?
Yeah.
Jay is off to find Tony Barnhart. He's around here somewhere as he's attempting to track him down.
Yeah, real quick, let's update. We just, as we left that, asked about the international game. Jacob in Lexington says, heck no, leave the SEC out of this. SEC stays in the South. Another texter says, how about heck no? Ernest says, I'd be interested in an international game only if in Ireland and if it was the South Carolina Clemson game. That way we both got international coverage.
All right. Would you be willing to risk a home game though against Clemson?
No,
that's the thing.
No. Don't risk that.
I think Greg Sankey knows exactly where his money is made, and I don't think he's gonna stray from that anytime soon.
Yeah. So there's a couple on that. A couple of things you just mentioned it right as we went to break. I was looking up and they were showing Arch Manning patrolling the hallways there, and just the media gaggle that's kind of following him wherever he goes. So. What does he say coming up this hour? What does he say at this point now that we are all like, oh, that sounds interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm just, where do we go with this?
I really don't know, quite honestly. I think it's just the aura around him that gravitates people to him. And obviously, his name carries a lot of cachet. And if he can be, I don't know, half the player that people expect him to be, then Texas is going to have a really good year. And I really think that's where, a lot of the interest draws from. So, so Jay's telling me it seems like Barnhart's gonna be on the way here in just a second. So we'll go ahead and hit a break here, and that way we can carry him through the end of the show. So you're listening to the halftime show. We're out here at Digital Drive at SC Media Days on your Tuesday on the Game. Oh, it is the halftime show live from Digital Drive here at SEC Media Days, wrapping up this portion of day number 2. Jay and Terry going to take you home with the post-game show coming up at 3. But excited and happy to be joined now for the next couple minutes by Mr. College Football himself, Tony Barnhart, sitting at the table with us. Tony, appreciate your time. How are we doing today?
We're doing great, guys. We're having a marvelous time. People are getting excited about the SEC.
Sorry.
And, yeah, it is good. Well, I got a home game, and I can never argue.
Boom, there you go.
Game, so.
Yeah, and
It wasn't that far of a trip for us.
No, that's right. Yeah. Well, Tyler lives. He's from Covington,
Yeah,
so
right.
he's been with family this week.
I've been staying with the folks and commuting every day, so
Excellent.
traffic hasn't been too bad.
Oh, you're a good son.
Yeah, that's
You're
right.
a
He's
good
a good one, and I'm usurping Bill Gunner's place here for a few minutes. It's always great to have you. We'll jump in because there's so much going on. Where does Tony Barnhart stand on the right football playoff? I'm it's sort of the Tom Petty. The waiting is the hardest part.
You're doing the 8 versus 9 debate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm totally for 9 games. First of all, who doesn't want more SEC football?
Right.
Okay? The coaches, but beyond them. Okay?
Yeah.
And they, by the way, they don't get a vote.
Right.
I just thought I'd mention that. No, you can do so many more things with the 9 games conference schedule. One of the things you can do is you have a situation with 9 games. If you play every team, in the league home and away for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
If you stay 4 years, you get to play every team both home and away.
Right.
So that's number. But the big thing for me is I like the secondary rivalries. What I mean by that is Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee. I'd like to see Florida, Auburn come back.
Sure.
You have the flexibility to do that because you would have 3 permanent opponents as opposed to 1, which limits what you can do. So, the Big Ten went to 9 games a long time ago. They seem to have survived quite nicely.
Right.
So I am for 9.
Do you? I know what the commissioner was saying yesterday, that nobody would trade their schedule for ours. I don't disagree with him, but there will be the pushback to just the sheer number of games.
I know that. But look, you can make a greater case if you're playing the 9-game schedule. That we play a tougher schedule than anybody else. Look, the commissioner's got his point of view is out there. When we were in Destin, they gave us that handout at the end of the meetings in Destin. We knew exactly and it's Duke. I would do it too. That's what you should do. You're going to have a big argument. I just think, and particularly from a financial standpoint, they certainly need the money. So I'm a 9-game kind of guy, knowing the coaches don't care for it.
Well, and it seems like at some point ESPN's going to be able to give you a number figure on what that 9th game is going to be, and then I feel like that's when the tone starts to change a little bit. Like, okay, now we're feeling a little bit better about doing that because again, you're making more money by playing that 9th
Well,
game.
I think you're exactly right, because what was happening is they were having this debate out in public, and I told somebody, I said, there's a number there. And if they get to the number, then they'll do the deal. If they don't get to the number, they won't do the deal. So. Yeah, I just think you go to 9, and I'm just not willing to give up the Georgia Auburn rivalry, which is my favorite game of all the games that I do. It's just and the idea, if you go to 9 games and you, as I said, if you stay 4 years, you'll play every team in the league home and away. And if you come to the SEC and stay 4 years, you should play in every venue in this conference.
I was going to say there was the ridiculous thing for a while where, A&M came in 2012 and they didn't see Georgia until 2021. And there were other examples of that around the league, like these two teams not seeing each other for over a decade. That kind of thing should never, ever happen.
And that all goes away with the 9-game conference schedule. So I just hope they see it. And I think somebody said to me, it says, the answer is money. Now, you tell me what's the question, but no matter what the question is, the answer is money.
Right.
And that's the case here.
How do you feel that this is, and again, coming back to it, relates directly to the delay in a college football playoff format, a longer-term format, and then separately, the automatic qualification that the Big Ten seems to want relative to maybe a 5+11 that's gaining more traction? Where do you feel like that impacts that?
Well, I just think they're going to come – the Big Ten's going to say, look, the Big Ten is trying to use their leverage to get the SEC to go to 9 games. Remember our buddy Brett Bielema?
Yeah.
He said, well, if the SEC would just go to 9 conference games, with all due respect to Coach Bielema, I don't think the SEC is going to be taking their scheduling advice from the head coach in Illinois. Just me. That's just me. So I think there will come a time when the Big Ten realizes, because the other conferences, the ACC is going to announce next week they're for 5-11.
Right.
The Big 12 has already announced
Right.
they want to do it. So I think you're going to have the three other conferences want to do it one way and they want to do it another. And I just think they'll come to their senses.
And I know Greg Sankey yesterday even threw out there that, hey, I'm cool with staying at 12, but it seems like 16 is inevitable. We talk about the value of the regular season so much, and it used to mean absolutely everything when you only had 2 teams playing for the national championship. Now you have 12, likely going to go to 16. Where do you stand with the value of the regular season right now and what it could be in the next couple of years?
Well, I think the value as you go exponentially up the number of conference games you play, is it 1 or 2 games? No, what it did last year and what it will do when they go to 16 is that they're going to be all these meaningful games because you've got 16 slots to make. So almost every game is going to mean something. I think it doesn't detract from the regular season. It enhances the regular season because almost every game matters.
Talking to Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, and we'll get into some of the things that he is doing this upcoming season, which are very cool in my personal opinion. Let me stay with this for a second because I do, in one sense, agree with Tony Petitti when he says that the automatic qualification system would take a lot of work out of the hands of the committee. And I think some people want that. At the same time, I understand that at the AQs, Tony, some people see, oh, it's just a participation trophy and it's the 2 big guys getting more than everybody else. So I see both sides, but I do agree with the portion of taking more work from the committee and allowing football to make that determination. But is there a net ranking equivalent in football or those kind of things? I just don't know where that middle ground really is.
And I understand that. I just think your better option is to go the 5-11 route and just emphasize really hard to the committee where they need to really knuckle down and study hard when it comes to strength of schedule.
Right.
Strength of schedule, strength of results, strength of record, whatever you want to call it. My man Joel Klatt, I know he doesn't like the 5-11, but I just think 5-11 is the way to go because more and more teams will be able to say, it is November 15th, and we're still in it.
Right.
More teams will be able to say that. And that was Roy Kramer's theory about divisional play.
Yeah.
More games in November would mean something if you went to division.
I agree with that part.
Tony Barnhart joining us here as we wrap up the halftime show. Let's kind of bring it in locally here. Carolina coming off of a strong campaign last year at 9-3. Sellers is coming back. Don Stewart's coming back. What do you like about the South Carolina team this year, and what's your outlook for them?
I mean, how good is Lenore Sellers? I mean, he can do everything. A lot of skill. And obviously, some good things on the defensive side. Well, look, South Carolina was playing as well as any team in the country at the end of last season. And I'm sure they would have loved the season to continue on.
They thought that Clemson win was going to mean something more than it did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I like what Shane Beamer's done there. I think they'll be fun. But here's the thing: there are a lot of really good teams in the SEC, which means there are a lot of really good teams that can beat you on any given Saturday. It's hard to win 9 games in this league. It really is. And I think they've done a good job at South Carolina. We'll see.
Before we let you go, let's talk about a couple things. You're going into retirement, or so you say. You were joking with us before we came on the air about how Mrs. Barnhart may feel about that, but maybe that's another book. We'll see. But take us through in a couple minutes here what you're looking for in this last season that you're doing, because it's pretty unique.
Well, what I'm doing, it's really going to be a last tour around, really a thank you tour, a celebration tour for me of all the wonderful venues I've been able to go to doing 50 years of this. And I'm going to take that plus the treasure trove of memories I already have and do an essay on each of the 16 teams there. For example, South Carolina. I'm going to write an essay. Coach Spurrier and I are pretty close, and I'm going to write an essay about the day that Steven Garcia and the game of his life.
Yeah.
He never played that well before. He never played that well again. But on that day, he was brilliant. I wrote that he was brilliant. I said it was the best game and I've seen Steve Spurrier call a lot of games. Best game I've ever seen him call, and what they did that day. And it's been interesting. Jerry Spurrier, Steve's wife, and I are close, and she speaks very fondly of Steven Garcia. She basically adopted him
Yeah.
as their fifth child.
Yeah.
Because he was a problem child, as
Yeah.
you guys know from time to time. So it's that sort of thing. Tennessee, I was halfway to Knoxville, Tennessee on September 11th, 2001, when the plane hit the Twin Towers. It hit the second Twin Towers. I was getting ready to do video. It was Tennessee Florida week. College game day was going to be there. I go up in advance and shoot some video footage. And so when the second plane hit, I'm calling Bristol, and I ended up I kept on going to Knoxville, interviewed a player by the name of Will Overstreet, great defensive All-American. He showed up wearing his practice gear, holding a cell phone. His sister was in Washington, D.C., and he could not find her. And we sat there and talked, and I said, you don't have to do this. This is not that important. He said, no, I want to do it. So I said, if that phone rings, go. And so the phone didn't ring. They eventually hooked up later on in the day. But it's those kind of memories and the decision by the SEC first to play, then not to play. But that's my Tennessee entry.
Right.
It's all these personal memories that I have over the years.
Yeah, and the Gamecocks got to play that first game against State in Starkville. So
that's in my Mississippi State.
Yeah,
and what that was like when the crowd, they held the American flag
right
out, and somebody at the top of the upper deck yelled, "What a hell been like!"
Right.
And that was
yeah,
incredible.
I'm already excited about it, and you hadn't even written it yet. You're also representing the great folks, Gary Stokan and his folks, the Peach Bowl, the Bobby Dodd Trophy, and I know that means a lot to you here in Atlanta.
Well, it does, because the Dodd Trophy, the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year award, is different than other Coach of the Year awards. The example is that it's all about scholarship, leadership, integrity, are the three pillars of the award. And this year, we'll give you an example. This year, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame was our pick. And one of the things that's different about the award is that we don't hold a banquet and ask you to come to us and we give you the trophy.
Right.
We go to you. We had a nice dinner with a bunch of alumni at Notre Dame. It was a great day, and that was really cool. So, scholarship, leadership, integrity, and I've been on the board of directors for 15 years. I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. Does the 50 year ago fresh out of Georgia student still look at this guy now and go, wow, that's pretty cool?
He managed to stay in the business this long. He managed, and 27 will be 50th anniversary for me and Mrs. Barnhart.
That's nice.
Why in the world did they put up with him for that long?
Well, we'll see. There's another book right there.
At least.
Or something more.
At least.
It's always a pleasure. Every summer you've done
Thank
it
you
with
so
us.
much.
Good to see you.
We
Nice to meet you.
appreciate it.
I feel like I've run into you about 20 times already. You just haven't been able to introduce myself. So
Well, I'm glad we did.
I think we bumped each other in the bathroom this morning.
Let's try to hook up when you hit Columbia this fall, and we'll see what we can do.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Thank you, Tony.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you
it so much.
Again, Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, and man, it's been a fun day so far. With Steve Sarkisian speaking in about 20 minutes here to wrap up day number 2 of SEC Media Days, and of course there'll be a halfway point at that point. But Jay and Terry coming up next for the post game show, and they'll keep you going there. So it's been a fun day here, and I'll be back on bright and early tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Yep.
Yeah,
Go
Tyler,
ahead, Bill.
what did we just trade for that segment with Jay? I hope you got beverages and lunch and dinner tonight, and we get a segment of Jay's this week.
We will talk about the Dr. Peppers tomorrow.
Excellent. All right, y'all take care. Have a great rest of the day. Tyler and I back tomorrow, noon to 3.
Yep.